Imagine traveling across America at nearly 200 miles per hour without airport lines, traffic jams, or hours spent driving across crowded highways. In many parts of the world, that kind of travel is already normal. Countries like Japan, France, and China built high-speed rail systems that transformed how millions of people move every day. But in the United States, despite its enormous wealth and engineering power, true bullet trains are still mostly absent. So why did America fall behind? And why has building high-speed rail become so difficult in the first place? For a country once shaped by railroads, that feels surprisingly strange. Let's answer that question right here on History of Simple Things. One of the biggest reasons is that America was built around cars instead of trains. After World War II, the federal government invested heavily in highways through the interstate highway system, while suburbs expanded farther away from city centers. Car ownership became deeply connected to American culture, and cities were designed around roads, parking lots, and long commutes. At the same time, air travel became cheaper and faster for long-distance trips. Unlike Japan or much of Europe, where dense cities made rail practical, many American cities spread outward instead of upward. Over time, driving and flying became more convenient for most people, while passenger rail slowly faded into the background. Another major obstacle is cost. High-speed rail projects are extremely expensive, especially in the United States. Acquiring land alone can become a legal and political battle because tracks often pass through private property, businesses, or protected environmental areas. Infrastructure projects in America also tend to cost far more than similar projects overseas because of lawsuits, regulatory delays, labor expenses, and fragmented planning between local, state, and federal governments. California's high-speed rail project became the clearest example of these problems. Approved in 2008 with an estimated cost of around $33 billion, projections eventually climbed above $100 billion while deadlines repeatedly slipped. Politics also plays a massive role. High-speed rail systems take years, sometimes decades, to complete, which means they require stable, long-term political support. In the United States, priorities constantly change. One administration may support rail investment, while the next cuts funding or shifts direction entirely. That instability makes long-term planning incredibly difficult. Countries with successful high-speed rail systems usually treated rail as a national project that continued regardless of elections. America rarely approached it that way. Presidents from Barack Obama to Joe Biden proposed expanding rail infrastructure, but Congress never provided enough consistent support to create a nationwide system. America's existing rail network creates another major challenge. In countries with successful bullet trains, passenger rail usually operates on dedicated tracks built specifically for high-speed travel. In the United States, freight rail dominates the system. Private freight companies own most of the tracks, and passenger trains like Amtrak often have to share space with slower cargo trains. That limits both speed and reliability. Even Acela, America's fastest passenger train, only reaches true high-speed levels on short sections of track in the Northeast Corridor. Much of the surrounding infrastructure is old and was never designed for modern bullet trains. There is also the question of demand. High-speed rail works best in dense travel corridors where millions of people frequently move between nearby major cities. Japan's Tokyo-Osaka route and France's Paris-Lyon corridor are perfect examples. Some parts of the United States fit that model, especially the Northeast Corridor between Washington, D.C., New York, and Boston. But outside a few regions, America is less densely populated than many people realize. Cities are often separated by vast distances, making air travel more practical for long trips. Even a very fast train from Los Angeles to Chicago would still take much longer than a flight. Critics argue that a nationwide bullet train network would cost trillions while serving limited portions of the population. Still, high-speed rail in America may not be completely out of reach. Projects in California, Texas, and Nevada continue moving forward in different ways, even if progress remains slow. Brightline in Florida has already shown that faster passenger rail can attract riders in the right regions, while newer federal infrastructure funding has renewed interest in rail development. Public attitudes are also beginning to shift as traffic congestion worsens and younger generations become less attached to car ownership than previous ones. Climate concerns are pushing governments to rethink transportation as well. America may never build a rail network as massive as China's or Japan's, but the country could still enter a new era of passenger rail if enough political and public support finally comes together. In the end, the lack of high-speed rail in the United States is not caused by one single problem. It's the result of decades of decisions that prioritized highways, suburbs, cars, and air travel over passenger trains. Yet demand for better transportation continues to grow, especially in crowded regions where driving and flying are becoming more stressful and expensive. America once built one of the most ambitious rail systems in history, proving the country is capable of massive infrastructure projects when it fully commits to them. The real question now is whether the United States still has the patience and long-term vision needed to build something designed not just for today, but for generations to come. Thank you for watching. If you have suggestions for our next video, feel free to share them in the comments below. We'll be sure to give you an acknowledgement for your contribution. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the history of simple things. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more stories woven through the smallest details.